shot from Curry with 0.6 of a second remaining. The brilliant shooting of Stephen Curry continues.
Back to Green, into the hands of Sprewell. Fast break down to Weber. He turns. Look up behind the back. And the step and the foul. What a play by Weber.
I've never seen a shooting display like this. Never.
37 and a quarter.
Swing and misses. Curry splits the defense behind the back. Fires a three. Oh, he's lost it in. What a spectacular move.
That could be the greatest move I've ever seen.
Here's Curry for the record.
It's good. There it is. Stephen Curry, the all-time three-point king in the NBA.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
You are in. Where's Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, my master of all things video and sound, Maxime.
How's it going?
And my boy and producer, MT.
What's up, Dub Nation?
Gentlemen, after way too long, I'm fired up to announce that rejoining us, the former Golden State Warriors beat writer for the Bay Area News Group, who covered the rise of a dynasty, a high-profile sports author who has contributed to more media outlets than I can list, including Fox Sports Radio, Sports Central LA, and the Sporting Tribune, a fixture in the NBA mediascape who took a charge from Ron Artest, earned a nickname from Bruce Frazier, and destroyed a mural of LeBron James, and a man who gave me a fucking incredible Table 9 gesture at his own wedding that I completely fucked up terribly, Mr. Mark Medina. What's going on, Mark?
MT, good to see you guys. Yes, I can confirm that Bram effed up a lot of things during Table 9, but while we're on the subject here, Bram, can you just pose for a second? I want to be able to get a photo of you that I can Photoshop into our photos at Table 9 since you weren't there.
Okay, you motherfucker. First, I will do that favor for you if you wouldn't mind recording the rest of this from a place where we can't hear a single word you say. Because, I mean, right now I'm getting like 2 or 3 words, and it'd be a lot easier if you heard nothing. Here's the story, boys, and it's a terrible one. It's terrible. I have been dreading. I love Medina. Really looking forward to seeing him, and I've been dreading this one. So some background. Mark and I went to Connor's wedding a while back. We were sitting at Table 9, and it's kind of taken on its own life of its own. We've mentioned on the show, Table 9 this, Table 9 that. We had pride. Fast forward to Mark's wedding. And because Mark is a smart guy, has got a sense of humor, makes a gesture and sits me at Table 9. And I notice it, dude. I see it immediately, like, oh, it's continuing. And so there's that thing that happens in weddings where towards the end, the couple go around, stop at each table, acknowledge, thank you, the whole thing. Thank you guys for coming. And they generally take a picture with the table. Well, Mark and his lovely wife did exactly that, came to Table 9 twice. Guess who wasn't there either time? This asshole, dude. And like, it's just nightmare. So that's just a nightmare experience. I have an excuse. It doesn't matter. Like, there's no, every time he looks at that picture, I'm sure his wife hates me now. There's nothing I can do about it, dude. So here we are. And I'm taking my medicine. Unless I get a time machine, I'm fucked about this forever.
Well, Bram told this accurately, and in the spirit of the fact that he felt so bad about this whole incident, he addressed it with me, and I said, hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'm just going to make fun of you about this for the rest of your life. So in that spirit, I will now fulfill some of the rest of the backstory, because we felt it was obviously important with our special day to want to be able to take photos with every single table, right? And make everyone feel included, express our appreciation for every guest. And so as we're going around each table, I notice that Bram's not there. So we keep rearranging the order of different tables to hit. And then all of a sudden, we're running out of tables. We have a few tables left, and I see Connor Letourneau, who is a friend of the podcast, obviously a former Warriors beat writer. I mentioned, hey, do you know where Bram is? Can you get him here? Because we got to get a photo. He was scrambling, but by the time we got to the last table, at Table 9, still no show. So we had to take the photo without him.
Unbelievable. And so Mark and I exchanged texts the next morning, and I tried to go over the top But, like, I mean, because I didn't see him. I didn't know about the Table 9 picture. I was like, dude, incredible day, incredible wedding, incredible venue. Love the whole 9 yards. And Mark hits me with a sanitized version first. Like, oh, did you like Table 9? It's like, oh, yeah, I did. And then he hits me with you didn't just miss one picture, dude. We came by there. We weren't there. We had a fucking lap. You weren't there. So here we are. All right. I apologize. There's nothing I can do. Don't answer this question, Mark. I do think that your wife hates me. We got to take her out to like eat or something. And I will make up for it the best way I can. To basketball, gentlemen, and maybe a basketball conversation will help me stop sweating uncontrollably. We'll find out together. A segment we don't get to do very frequently, but do almost every time Mark is here, is the Off the Court Report. The idea is that if you listen to this podcast, you know what the hell happens on the floor. You watch every second of it. But we occasionally get a guest who is so deep in the mediascape that they have stories from off the floor. They are working with these guys. They are interviewing with these guys. And Mark always fits that bill. And in fact, in the last few months, and I'm having trouble picking up the articles he sent, but Mark's been working real hard with Warriors related people. And here's a couple of articles he wrote recently. One, spoke to Gary Payton II. Here's the summary on it. GP2 spoke to Sportskeeda about his health, exercising player options, preparing for Clay's departure, where Warriors fit in the NBA landscape, and some fun Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Gary Payton, and Michael Jordan stories. Fuck you, Mark. That's a click-worthy thing if I've ever heard it. Off the court. Give me a Draymond Green, Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, or Steph Curry story. You take it anywhere you want.
Well, that's why we want to get people to click on it so they know what it's all about. But I think as it pertains to Warrior fans, I mean, obviously it's very early in the season. Anything can happen. But the thing that he assured me with was that he is 100% healthy, and maybe that's what every player will say, especially entering training camp. But he said that there was a lot of structural stuff he did in the offseason to make sure that his body wasn't susceptible to further injuries. But as far as like some of these favorite off the court stories, my favorite out of them is Steph Curry. Now, the context of this is during training camp when they're in Hawaii. So this was a most recent story that involved his 3-year-old nephew, who, like with basically everyone else in the world, is a huge Steph Curry fan. And so the Warriors, they allow, different family members to be on the team plane. And so Jacoby Deuce, who is Gary Payton II's nephew, he was running up and down the aisle doing the Curry shimmy. And Steph decided to have fun and join him in that because he's very familiar with that move. So it was a very cool moment to see both an established NBA star like Steph Curry and one of his greatest fans and Jacoby Childs share a bond over their favorite celebratory on-court move.
What a cool glimpse into who Steph Curry is. Like the word that immediately comes to mind is approachable. I mean, that's just someone that you'd like. That's something that like somebody's uncle would do, who's normally fun. But instead of it being a fucking uncle, it's a guy who changed the game of basketball and is a top 10 player of all time. Like those things, relatable and like excellent, don't very frequently go together. And what a great way to kind of illustrate that combination.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk to basically anyone in the Warriors, anyone in the NBA, one of the most underrated things about Steph Curry is the way that he is a leader. Obviously he has that cachet because he's the greatest shooter of all time. He's one of the generational stars. But there's this common denominator that players will share that they feel like his leadership is genuine. And so when you hear about the Warriors and the culture of joy and all that, sometimes people roll their eyes at that because, like, we're all adults. Everyone's trying to do their job. So it's not about Steph enters the practice facility or a game just being happy-go-lucky and jumping up and down. Frankly, if he did that, that would get on people's nerves after a while, especially through the ups and downs.
Sure.
But it's more about the fact that he's a genuine person, and he, because of his stature and the way he conducts his day-to-day, it makes for a positive working environment.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is Steph's a very competitive player. He's a very, gritty type player. So he does expect, obviously, players that have a work ethic, and he appreciates players that do. But even with players that are, that play with that chip on their shoulder and are about the grind, or ones that are more lighthearted, there is a common feeling that Steph makes them feel comfortable and really makes them feel empowered to try to bring out the best of them to help the Warriors win games. And I think his track record speaks for itself. There's been ups and downs, but mostly ups, and a lot of it has to do with how Steph empowers his teammates.
I'll give you a random off the court report for me. I was at the game last night. A hell of a win that nobody thought was coming. That was against New Orleans without Steph. But Buddy Hield was probably your star, he and Lindy Waters. And, Buddy had a shitty first half, but caught fire in the second half and hit a three that essentially ended the game. And, the stands are going crazy. And Buddy in particularly is not only celebrating, but is celebrating exceptionally hard with someone I can't see. He's pointing really hard off court and is obviously getting reciprocated with energy. And so I'm trying to figure out who the fuck it is. And for the first time that evening, I see Steph Curry, who is on the way end of the bench celebrating as if he had made that game-ending three. And so, it's not breaking news that Steph is enthusiastic and infectious with his joy, but it was a cool reminder, and to end it where we started, an off-the-court report about GP2. He was playing last night. This is my first game I've been to in person this year, and I haven't seen GP2 for a little while. And what struck me was he gets the kind of cheers that a walk-on player gets in college. Like when that guy who never comes on, the 19th man only comes on when they're up 1,000, and you really want him to do it or really want him to play well. But he's also exceptionally competent and a hard-nosed fucking player. And again, combinations that don't happen. You're like, GP2 is in, and then he blocks the shit out of somebody or rips somebody from behind, and it's an unexpected combo, which is the perfect transition. I won't make you cough up the content. Make the click, ladies and gentlemen, as opposed to hearing the story. But here's the other story that Mark sent me. Brandon Payne, the legendary trainer of the one and only Steph Curry, also sat down with Mark, and they talked about the, quote, Olympic run and preparing for the Warriors season without Clay. Payne also ranks Steph's dagger 3 versus France, quote, it's right up there with the OKC shot. So, Mark, we've got too much stuff to cover and not enough time to cover it. So don't tell us about that story. But if you are listening, get out there and make the click, which brings us to glass half full. Mark, you remember what this is? We're looking back at recent Warriors basketball. We've got something we like and we haven't heard from the other members of the show. Let's start there. MT, something you like or don't about recent Warriors hoop?
I'll go easy softball, like Buddy Hield. I didn't realize they were saying on the game last night that over the last 5 seasons, Buddy Hield has made the most 3-pointers in the NBA, and that's including Steph and Clay. So I didn't realize he was that prolific with it, but it was just great to see him having fun. To your earlier point, the fact that he plays with joy, the same way that Steph tries to infuse it and bring that into the Warriors culture, is just great to see. There's been reports that Buddy Hield off the court is one of the players who tries to get everybody together, is always joking and having fun and adding to that. So it's just great to see it in action. There's, the clip going around of Buddy Hield is great for the first 10 games of every team he joins, and then he's, falls off a cliff after that. So
the cycle.
I'm enjoying this. Yeah, exactly. I'm enjoying these first 10 games and hoping that he breaks the cycle this time. But it's just great to see us be able to get a win against a good team without Steph and Wiggs and Melton in the lineup.
Shout out to my boy Kev, best friend, best man at my wedding, and recently hit me up. I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a toy, and this is showing my age. There was a toy that was kind of like a Cabbage Patch Kid, but it was a little bit bigger, and they called it My Buddy. It's like a thing that I guess they sold to only kids who didn't have friends. I don't know. But the tagline on it, the song was My Buddy and Me. My buddy, my buddy. And Kev hit me with like a link to it, and I can't stop singing it now. Every time I see it, it is just going off nonstop. My related is I like how confident I am now the second it leaves his hands. Yes, and of course I like it when he hits it, and yes, I like all of his production. But there was moments last night, almost the way I used to feel about Clay, that I didn't need to watch the ball. I knew it was going in, and that's a fun thing. Maxime, what do you got?
A couple of hot topics just to follow up on MT's point about Buddy having the most threes in the NBA over the past 5 years. That's because Steph and Clay have had time being injured. But to flip that positive, I mean, the guy's kind of a soldier, right? He plays a lot of games, and so that bodes pretty well for us, assuming that he breaks this 10-game cycle. I also really liked GP2's quote saying that, he didn't really care about anything except for finding out that he totally stymied CJ McCollum. Just so proud of his defensive prowess. And that's exactly what you need, because what won the game for us it was a 40-point swing. We were down 20 in the first half, ended up by winning by 20, was that we're seeing some pretty staunch defense from the Warriors. That feels really good, especially because I've been getting flack on YouTube for saying that I only cared about the run and gun offense. So exciting to see that we're a two-way team overall. And then the last thing, I can't remember who posted it on Reddit, but I saw somebody on Reddit say that with Lindy Waters going off too, that Waters and Buddy would be the water buddies, which is sort of like a B-rate Splash Bros. So anyways, just throwing that out there because I thought it was kind of funny.
B-rate, that's like D-. I will not use that at all. Also, I should apologize for dropping those comments on YouTube. It is what it is, man. I'll move right beyond that. Mark, let's go to you. Don't limit yourself. Yeah, I'm anxious to hear this, man. So, to give you another random off the court report, the Warriors, it wasn't just a turnaround last night. You look at the box score, you can see the turnaround. I was there, dude. They had 16 points. In the second quarter, they had 16 points. And there was grumblings. People were weirded out, kind of, is this start not something we can believe in? And then Avalanche came, and now we're great, right? Watching this team from afar, what's your perceptions? Give us a glass half full or empty.
Yeah, it's half glass full. I was watching the game on TV, and when I watched the first quarter, I thought, wow, this looks like 2019-20 Warriors without Steph Curry. But when I saw the second quarter come back, it looked like, you know what, this is the team that actually is strength in numbers, and it's much different than that strength in numbers team in 14-15 because they were all a supporting role. Obviously, they're very important, but the main headliners were their all-stars. And I know that around the league, people would roll their eyes when Steph Curry or anyone else was out. I remember specifically when Steph was out for one period of time and some of the other role players were enhancing their play. Stan Van Gundy at the time with Detroit just rolled his eyes and said, oh, well, all the Warriors need now are guys like Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant to step up. Obviously, in this context, much different because they do need everyone all hands on deck. And everyone, I think, fulfills a specific role. You have Buddy Hield with the shooting. You have DeAnthony Melton with the perimeter defense. You have Kyle Anderson with basically doing both. You have Jonathan Kuminga, obviously, as one of the young guys. The one thing I was impressed with is that you saw, even though that's clearly Steve Kerr brought him off the bench because of lineup combinations and spacing purposes, Jonathan Kuminga didn't react accordingly and act offended as if, how dare you cross me like this, which is kind of different than how things were taken the last few years with up and down playing time. But I think he's the real deal. Podziemski, whether he can or make or miss shots on a night-to-night basis, he just brings that energy with everything. And he's not afraid. There's not a coincidence that he led the league in charges last season. I fully expect him to do that. So I think what it means moving forward, obviously, like with any NBA team opening week, you don't want to overreact to records, but I think that they showed that they're going to be on the better side of strength in numbers than without. And Steph Curry's injury isn't expected to be serious. Technically will be evaluated Friday, so we'll know more, but he'll be expected back pretty soon. So it's a pretty good combo.
Love these takes. Love them enough where I'll admit I made a mistake. There is, in fact, a third article that Mark shot my way that I want to let everybody know about. It is entitled "Why I Hate Bram and Other Table 9 Stories." I'm not going to give you the take. You can read that at your own thing, but it is out there and it is very well written. For me, cleanup. Waters' confidence. He's a shooter. We know that. Seen it. That's very impressive. What I want to underline right now is how fucking confident this kid is. He's not taking wide open threes. Last night, he was covered. He was taking step back threes that people, generally speaking, don't take as first-year players who are at the back end of a rotation. This is a kid who believes in himself and perfectly transitions to the next, like Mike D's talent evaluation. There's no question that we were able to build a dynasty under Myers, but you could certainly take some shots at his draft picks. It turns out that Dunleavy is actually a very solid talent evaluator, and we're seeing that in Waters. But here's the thing I like the most, boys. Andrew Wiggins rebounding. We're a game removed. He didn't play last night, and so we might not remember. But I've said multiple times, one of the invisible barometers for what Wiggins' impact on the floor is his rebounding. It's the thing that people gave him shit about in Minnesota. He's 6'8", uber athletic. If nothing else, he should be able to rebound. And when he isn't, it's a sign that people use like, well, he doesn't really care and he's not motivated. Well, gentlemen, this year he is averaging 6.7 rebounds a game, or put differently, the most rebounds he has ever averaged in his entire career. The last time he got anywhere close to this was at 5.3. That was in 2019, and he was still a Timberwolf. So look, we're early, and we'll see what happens. But all the little bullet points you'd want to see of like, ooh, this strength in numbers thing means something. Wiggins might be back. We're seeing them, which is awesome.
And I think one more thing, not to cut you off, Bram, but I think another benefit under the radar, and you don't want to say the quiet part out loud, or at least too loud, but strength in numbers becomes added benefit for February 6th. So if we have enough guys playing well and showing value, that we can make a move for that, like player that pushes us over the top and really gets, launches us into the top 3-4 conversation of contenders. We can make that move if we think it's right. So having so many players, a 12-man rotation, and all 12 of them playing and having value also has the underlying benefit of, if Giannis is upset at Milwaukee or if somebody else comes into play, that bodes well for us to make a move if we want to.
This reminds me of Brooklyn before KD decided to join them, when Kenny Atkinson was still the coach there and they were running a system that everybody wanted to be a part of, and they just needed another addition. But I will also add, there's statements out there you can throw out that, like, you say them to make sure it's okay, but you don't mean them with all due respect. And then you shithouse somebody, right? Here's another one of those statements. Not to cut you off. Fuck you, dude. You definitely cut me off. What are you talking about? Not to cut you off. That's exactly what you did. You cut me off entirely. So nicely played for you. A thing I don't like. I don't like slow-mo air balls from 3. I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I don't know if he's not used to like the pace that he's got to get it off. I'm sure this will like slow down, but there has been quite a few air balls from the corners to start this season off. So I'd like to see that turn in a different direction. We'll see. All right, Mark, exciting part of the podcast here. We've got a live read, but just to make it a little bit more tense for no reason, Marcus did a great job with this live read last week. I got defensive about it, announced to the world that I would do a much better job. I don't know if that's going to be true, but we're about to find out. Mark, let's go to the live read. Huddle listeners, Underdog. It is the place to go if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching games. You can't be fucking around with the camera while I'm trying to do the read here, dude. I mean, I'm trying to like knock it out of the park. We're looking at up close shots of Mark. I'm going to start this off. There we go.
Not to cut you off, but you're doing terrible right now.
Yeah, you bastard. I mean, I'm trying to hit this in one take. Fools are switching up cameras. Here we go. Huddle listeners, have you heard of Underdog? It's the place to go if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching games. On Underdog, you compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats. No complicated money lines, no need to understand the point spread or really have any knowledge on anything related to gambling at all in any way. You just need to know a little bit about basketball and be willing to make a guess. For example, if you think Draymond's going to put on his point guard hat tonight against the Pelicans and go for more than 5.5 assists, you can guess that. Or if you think that Wiggs will continue his rebounding streak and get more than 4.5 boards, you can make that pick. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Wondering if you can play in your area? Underdog is available in 33 states, including Texas, Georgia, and the Golden State of California. Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em. So sign up for your shot to win real cash prizes all season long. Download the app today and use WHP as a code to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's code WHP to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. And a quick little take from me. I tried that this week. Really enjoyed it. I mean, had a good time with it. And to be honest with you, I think they're underplaying one of the best parts about this product in this ad read. And it's this. Money is great. winning money is even better. And this app will let you do that. You can, in fact, win money. But I think the thing that is most impressive about this is that it's also giving you straightforward entertainment. You make one of these picks, you will care way more about the game and will be generally entertained for the next 2.5 hours. Monday night, I put money on Tyrese Halliburton scoring more than 16.5 points against the Magic. Now, newsflash, I give a shit about the Magic, and I don't care about Tyrese Halliburton. I care about hoop. I probably would have watched the game, but I wouldn't have cared at all. I made that pick for 4 quarters. I look like the biggest Pacer fan anyone had ever seen, and I can duplicate that anytime I want. Anytime you suddenly really, really, really want to care about a game, you can use Underdog. You're all the way in, and you might win 1,000 times your money. So it's certainly worth checking out. Here is the legal stuff. You must be 18 plus unless you're in Alabama, Nebraska, or Colorado, which requires you to be 19 plus for some games and 21 and over for Massachusetts and Arizona. You got to be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. All terms apply. It's void in Colorado. And if you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, it's 1-800-NEXT-STEP, or you can text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line, 1-887-8-HOPE-NEW YORK, or text HOPE New York. That's 467-369. Boom! How'd I do, boys? What do you think?
Oh, rubbish, filth, slime, muck.
Wow. I mean, that's a terrible reaction, and I feel like I killed it. In fact, I don't want any of your guys' opinions. Mark, I'll take from your shocked stance that I knocked that out of the park, man.
I am speechless. I mean, the first try, huge whiff. Second try, I'll give you an A for effort.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Huge whiff. I mean, I added a little personality to it. Factually inaccurate. You've lost your vote, and I'm not asking any of the rest of us. I am the only one who's voting.
You seem to be speaking really fast, as if a way to compensate for the flub at the beginning.
I'm trying to compensate for us having 3 minutes to finish the next 2 pages, Stu. And there was, 8 paragraphs of legal. So we had to get to the bottom to our golden questions. Gentlemen, you'll recognize this as our mailbag. People write in, get us questions. They are occasionally personal, always deal with the Warriors. And here's the first. Can Buddy Hield keep up his pace? So kind of an amorphous question. An important one, but I want to quantify it. So I went out and I turned this into some over-under, boys. All right. Here's the first. Points per game. I'm going to put the over-under for Buddy Hield at the end of the season at 20. For point of reference, right now he's averaging 21.2. Last year he averaged 12.2. Mark, start us off. How optimistic should we be? Over-under 20 points per game for Buddy at the end.
I think under, but it'll be slightly under. And the reason I say that is this. I think because of the fact that the identity is still with Steph Curry, the amount of shots he's going to get is going to fluctuate game to game, as well as the fact that role players are role players for a reason. They have breakout games some games, slumps other games. As we've seen with Buddy Hield's career, one game or a stretch of games, he can be the future three-point champion.
Yep.
In other games, he can be like someone like what Omri Caspi reminded you of, or Nick Young during certain portions of their time with the Warriors. So I'm just saying, we'll pump the brakes, but he will be a valuable player.
I take the under as well. He is shooting at an unbelievable clip. And at that unbelievable clip, he's at 21.2. So, do I think he can keep these percentages up? We'll find out in a second. That's actually our next over under. But on this, I'll take a slight under as well. I think we're thinking a huge season for Buddy and will continue to be one of our favorite players. But I still take the under. Let's go 3 on this, gentlemen. Maxime, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I take the under too, but I'm less optimistic that it's going to be just under. I think this sort of cycle of 10 games and then having it be, him having a regression could be the case. And as you know, I'm a huge defensive minded person, despite what all the YouTube comments say. And I do think, there's a concern that on that end of the floor, he's going to kind of play himself out. We have seen them play so far against, frankly, lesser teams. We thought New Orleans might be good, but turns out they're pretty shitty. So far this season, I'm not seeing that he's being tested. And I think when we get up against some of the higher caliber teams in the NBA, he's going to get played off of the floor a little bit more.
I don't know if you've had a chance to check YouTube recently, but someone just dropped a comment about how you keep changing the camera while they're reading an ad. I don't know why they would do that, but it's
You're too many burners.
Yeah, it's accurate. It is what it is. MT, take this next one. All right, it's percentages. Right now, Buddy is shooting 51.7 from the field, 55.6% from three. 55.6% from three. For point of reference, the big golden magic number you want to see for the elite shooters is 40%. He's shooting 55.6, and last year shot 38.9 from three. All right. So the over-under is not fucking 50. That's bananas. I'll put it at what should be an equally crazy number, 45% going forward. At the end of the year, will Buddy Hield be shooting under or over 45% from three?
Definitely under. I mean, he's shooting it at a crazy clip right now. If you have a 50, 40, 90 season, you are in rarefied air. And I don't think he's going to get to that.
Not to cut you off, but yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make a point.
But yeah, definitely the under on that. He's playing well, and we need that. I think at the end of the day, Wiggs is our second leading scorer, and Buddy eats off of that. I think enough people make the adjustments. They weren't sure how to approach Buddy Hield as a Warrior, and now they're starting to figure it out, and they're just going to start treating him as if they were treating Clay. And he may not be as good a shooter as Clay, but they'll start treating him like it, and his percentages will go down.
There's a reason why the percentages are up, and it's not just that he's hot. This system is built for him. And, so like if we use the number last year, 38.9, do I think it's above that? Yeah, I do. But 45%, I mean, we're talking like historic, dude. I mean, that's not a number really. I haven't done the research on this, so I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone's ever shot 45% from three. So I'll say 40 and above. He's going to hit that big golden standard, but will it be 45%? Yeah, maybe not. Mark, are we off base here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be under for the same reasons I mentioned. But how about this? How many games could Buddy Hield shoot more than 50% from three? And I'm not even saying 2, 3, or 4 attempts. How about at least 6 attempts? I'll make a prediction that he'll at least hit 50% from three in, let's say, 8 games this season.
I love that. I'll take the over. And to set some storytelling scene here, Mark is making this interview from Intuit Dome. He's at the Clippers game. And so that sound you hear from behind him, I don't know if it's like they're trying out people for the wall or whatever it is, but it's a gamer. He is at another building talking to us, which only illustrates how important he is to the media scape. I'll take over on those 8 games. I'll take over. I think he is going to have a series. I mean, there'll be some games that are duds, just like everything else. But will he have 8 above that line? I think he will, which leads to our last Buddy question, although we kind of talked about it. Will they earn a nickname? So Splash Brothers was historic. There's shirts, there's, monuments probably. It's a very well-known term. One of those Splash Brothers is left, and now we're left with Steph, but here's Buddy. Yeah, and we are already seeing that they make up a fairly solid backcourt. My question is, will they earn a full-blown nickname? And if so, do you have any suggestions? Just to get you guys thinking about it, we took to Twitter and got our X, whatever the fuck I'm supposed to call it. Got some suggestions out there. Here's a few that people wrote back. The Wet Boys, which is awkward but catches my attention. Splash Buddies, the Wetties, Wet Dreams. Let me pause again. Again, awkward. The Three Amigos, the Rain Gang, and the Deep Three Mafia, which I kind of liked, but it's kind of long. So yeah, there's some suggestions. Mark, take it first. Do you think a real nickname will emerge? One that we continue to use 2 years from now? Not like during this hot streak where we all know, but 2 years from now, will we still remember whatever nickname, was thrown out?
Well, I can guarantee you 2 things. One, none of the clearly sexually suggestive nicknames will stick, pun intended.
Oh.
to
Where's that boo sound now? I play that shit now.
two, there won't be a nickname. Here's why. Even before pre-punch, Warriors championship run, no one was able to produce a definitive nickname for Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And this is on the heels of them winning a championship and showing, hey, the Warriors championship run isn't over. They can win without Kevin Durant. So if a nickname was not formed during that time, I don't see how a nickname will be formed during this time.
Yeah. Maxime, MT, I agree with them. I think there will be one. I think that Splash Buddies seems to be the one that's circulating now. So I think that like we'll hear one for a season, but then, fast forward a few years when they're looking back at this backcourt, no one's gonna be like, oh, the Splash Buddies. I don't think we'll remember it.
Nah, that's too forced. I mean, plus, this came from Steph and Klay. It's the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. Like, you're at that point, bringing up a nickname is just making the comparison. But I do like Rain Gang. I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it sticks. And just to add to your earlier question, Bram, the highest 3-point percentage in a season, 2009, 2010 by Kyle Korver. You have to have a minimum of 110 attempts. How high do you think Kyle Korver got in that season?
43.
53%.
Oh, well, thanks for doing that research. It made me look like an asshat. And I'm glad that I was able to weigh in twice, too. Great. Let's go ahead and cut that part. And that part where I screwed up the first part of the read, as long as I'm requesting cuts. We're out of time, boys, but I got to ask this nonetheless. One of the cool things I think for Buddy is that he gets to reinvent himself here. It doesn't matter what happened in Philly. It doesn't matter what happened to those other stops. We're all kind of re-experiencing it. And we don't get to do that as human beings very often, at least as far as getting traded to a new job. But circumstances can happen. You can go to a new school or like attend a camp or something, and you get to reinvent yourself momentarily. Have you ever done that? If any of you guys had a moment where you were with new people and totally changed who you were for the period of time that you were with those people?
So I don't think that I have, because I'm just true to myself all the time. But that does remind me that one summer, I'm kidding. This is a total joke. I came back from summer break, and one of my friends in my friend group had completely changed his laugh. Like, he just decided that the way he laughed before summer break didn't sound good anymore, and he came back, and it was just like, this is like a child essentially being like, ho, 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 ho. And it was just so forced and faked. It's like, I don't want you in my group anymore. This is not funny. You're killing every single joke with this fake canned ass laugh.
Did you say anything to him? Did you call him out?
No, I really should have.
I would have been very distracted. I went to Cal basketball camps growing up, and they had different versions of them. You could go for the week, and you'd go in and then leave. And then they also had spend the night camps. And the spend the night camps was where the much better players came. And then afterwards, they like just during the day is kind of lesser. And I do both towards the end. And in the overnight camps, I was who I was. In fact, I knew people. I think MT and I went to one once. But during the other ones, when I would just go and be there with the lesser players, I reinvented myself every time. The fucking lies I told about how good I was, I am not proud of. I am sure I told a group of people that I could dunk. I couldn't touch the backboard. I couldn't touch the bottom of the net. Like, none of that was happening. And then had to come up with like consistent reasons about why I wasn't dunking for the 2 weeks we were there. It's like, I'm tired. It was bananas, but I can see taking advantage of this whole new thing and jumping off to a new start. If I had dunked the first time I had told those people I could, and now I'm living this new reality, the amount of fun I would have had there, it would be incredible. And I would imagine for Healed with this start, coming in, having that pseudo reputation of being like, yeah, I've made the most 3-pointers in the past, and then coming out and starting out on fire, a Kyle Korver level of fire is got to be so satisfying. All right, Mark, we know you have to cover a game. You're at it. So let's get you out of here, man. We appreciate you. Before I let you go, all pretense aside, should have been there at table 9. I'm so mortified. I'm so sorry, man. I should have been there the first time. Who knows how many laps? Don't tell me the laps thing again. And it makes me feel terrible. So my apologies. And for people who need way more Mark Medina in their life, where do they go?
Apology accepted. Go table 9 minus Bram. Where can people go to follow? Twitter account Mark G_Medina, the different platforms, Sportskeeda, Sporting Tribune, Athlon Sports, Fox Sports Radio, Spectrum Sportsnet, CBS LA.
Let's go. You know we love Mark. Please get out there and check out his coverage because it is nothing short of excellent. If you're looking for me, I cannot be found at Table 9 almost anywhere else. And the one thing I would like to pimp. So we are, as you know, trying to do 2 shows a week. Our Friday show is our awards show. This Friday, not only are we having an award show, but we are showing off a brand new format that just looks badass. It's the visual format. If you'd like to join that, hop up on YouTube, subscribe, and they'll get you both the link and the times will be appearing. With that in mind, go Warriors. Hopefully, see you real soon.